You know, he thought that Don Don Donki's pricing system is same as Daiso. Does it cost too much to live in Singapore? This is your daily Ketchup. I have bad news for everybody. Daiso is no longer $2.
Stupid.
Yeah.
The whole point is $2.
Yeah, it's damn
Daiso
strange.
actually literally translate into $2.
Really?
No. No, but it's so strange because like it makes life so easy, right? They only need to have $2 notes, for example. And then now it's like
Yeah, so they're actually introducing a 15-tier pricing system, and prices run all the way up to $25.
I already been to a Daiso where there's a different price section. So they have all the $2 part, then you have the more X one. But then
What
the
is
thing
under
is the
more X?
same.
no, so the question is, right, is it is a $2 item 1 year ago potentially going to be $25 today, or is it a brand new set of items?
I think
It's the first lah.
I think it's the
No
first.
lah.
What, they go and find new thing?
I think this is a good thing. Hear me out. So Dyson sells Dyson, yeah. What's Dyson?
The
Vacuum,
vacuum.
that- way more expensive.
Daiso sells thousands of things, right? But we kind of go there for 5-6 things because that's the only 5-6 things that we know of that we think, okay, $2 to buy this, worth it.
Okay.
Yeah, and so in that sense, right, they have a lot of things that they possibly can sell, like some high quality things from Japan that we might really like, right? But that they can never carry because they're only selling at $2. And then there are also little shitty things that they know they can bait us to buy, right? That probably is only $1, but they will have to sell it at $2. So I feel like quality product, it's like last time Singapore they got this 99-cent shop or 199 shop, you remember? Like solid one, but then like the products are like when you only got $2 a day, right? Then that was like a damn solid shop. But when you start having $6 a day, right? Then you feel like you go there and buy shitty things.
You can buy 3 of it.
Yeah, they got so many outlets. They can totally like sell good stuff.
Because like Japanese stuff is not cheap.
Yeah.
You know, he thought that Don Don Donki's pricing system is same as Daiso.
Opposite, bro, that one. They got
went
nothing
there.
inside. There's $2, eh.
For the first year.
He just buy. Then after he gets surprised at the counter.
I keep getting surprised at the price, but then I just keep thinking like, I buy a lot of
150 things. Must be about 150 things.
Like I'll go there to get paper bags and like their cardboard containers,
Like, yeah.
which is the
the
boha.
Tupperware good.
That's why. No, so there's always a certain period of time, right, where if you need to buy gifts for people, then you go Plaza Sing, right, there's Spotlight, Art Friend, and then Daiso. So it's always like you go Art Friend first, you see how much everything is. Oh, okay, Spotlight is the same. Then you realize, oh shit, let me go check Daiso whether they have the same thing or not for $2. And bam, you buy it there. Or like things like wrapping paper. Sometimes you go out, right, it's like $5 for wrapping paper sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Daiso
true.
$2.
Like they cannot seasonally jack their price because they committed to $2. Okay, that's the downside of this, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, I really value convenience. Like, I would not do this. Go and compare the price.
I also want.
Like if it's a reasonable, like I'm okay to pay that price, I'll just buy it at that moment. Which we will come to that later.
Depends if I'm buying Christmas gifts on the 20th or on the 24th lah.
Right.
Then yeah.
How urgent?
Yeah, correct. Or like Halloween. Office say, hey, got Halloween party, then you want to makeshift something, right? Daiso.
Yeah, that's why every office decoration sound look the same. It's the same little furry thing.
Yeah. So the reason, as most of you might expect, is that the price of raw materials have been driven up over the past few years, and that's why they're saying that they are
Consumerism.
increasing their prices lah,
Inflation.
Okay.
with the global supply chain issue and such.
You know how they measure inflation? It's
Basket
like,
of goods.
Basket of goods.
Yeah.
Go
It was
ahead.
like how, you know, like
Yeah.
there's this dude that goes shopping once a year,
For one basket.
but he needs to bargain hunt also because if not he'll jack that shit up, right? And it's like
Wait, this is real?
No lah, you do not. It's not a real guy lah. They take a basket of like some essential goods, like say for example, it's hypothetical,
What
but
kind
like
of
it could be like bread, eggs, or
like
whatever
essential goods.
of essential goods, and then they measure the price of that compared to the year before, the quarter before.
Like a supermarket lah.
Yeah, wherever you can buy these things.
Presumably there's a guy though. Presumably,
No, but
he needs to verify. He needs to like when they call NDC give them the price check. He needs to go and verify, ma.
Do you know this basket of goods actually changes?
Then how is
I would
that
think so.
accurate?
No, so based on what people are tending to spend on, I guess. So for example, in like addition to the baskets for 2022, right, will include meat-free sausages, sports bras, pet collars, and antibacterial surface wipes. And then there are also
What's a meat-free sausage? What's inside?
Sausage with no like vegan meat.
sausage.
What's inside?
It's just the skin. Sausage skins.
How is vegetarian food made?
No, but it's probably like Impossible or like a corn or like one of those brands.
Right.
Yeah.
There are other examples of this, right? It's like
No, it's like Big Breakfast versus McMuffin. They deconstructed that shit.
Yeah, and then say, hey, do yourself, we'll charge you more.
doesn't make sense, on
But I still like.
I still like it as well.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, there are a bunch of things that has caused global inflation. One big thing is clearly COVID-19, and more recently, the Ukraine war, which has, I mean, impacted flow of goods, and like there's demand is much greater than supply currently, which is why prices are running up. So CNA actually did a price check, but then they didn't do the whole basket of goods. It's just they compare like fresh eggs, which is like something that most people would buy, right? For a pack of 30 fresh eggs, in the last year, 2021, in February, it was $4.75.
It's like the pasta brand one. Wow.
This year, February 2022, is $6.15.
Oh shit!
Almost $2.
you would that was the
$1.50
highest.
around
I think the highest like it spiked to like $7 plus. Then it come back down.
Yeah, that was the egg crisis.
Oh.
NTUC played a pivotal role.
That
in
means
that.
it
Shout out
almost
to
2x.
NTUC.
Eggs almost 2x.
There was a
investing
period,
eggs.
right?
But cannot last expire.
Have you also encountered like inflation in your daily lives?
I don't understand. Okay, I was
Petrol.
googling the concept of inflation, and I disagree with it.
Okay, cool.
Good for you, man.
No, like the concept of inflation, right? We can do without one. It's all a scheme, right? So that people can just keep profiting more. Everybody's just greedy and wants more profit. Hence, right, we are playing with supply and demand so that we can inflate the prices of our goods.
Wait, okay, just so we make sure that you understand what I'm talking about. What is inflation?
Wow, fucked
Inflation
up. That is
is the increase in price due to the increase in cost to actually provide the service or products.
Not necessarily. I think the economic definition, if I'm not mistaken from secondary school, right, is that it is the general increase in prices of goods and services in consecutive quarters or something along those lines. Nope, that is recession. Consecutive quarters, but it's basically a general rise in prices. So
Is a general rise in prices that affects your cost of living.
Yeah, but
Yes.
you all know why or not? Like it increase.
Yes.
yeah.
But the whys don't make sense.
No, I think it depends. So like, for example, if it's market manipulation, like say for example diamonds, where it's actually not scarce and the people that are actually digging out the diamonds that account for 70% of the supply, right, actually restrict the supply, then I see what you're saying. But I think a lot of this happening with like COVID, for example, it's either demand is increasing or supply is decreasing, and because of COVID and the supply chain like issues, supply really decreased. So like there was a microchip shortage, so all the electronic goods all became more expensive. Like GPUs became super expensive because there were not enough microchips.
But yeah, so to me, right, the idea of inflation and the only reason why there should be like some forms, and not all the time, right, is due to scarcity of anything. And this can be created because of like say war or like you mentioned, like say natural disasters or whatever, right? But that aside, right, there are so many other things that play into creating the kinds of inflation that we are experiencing. So for example, like everybody expecting paying wages increasing, right? And that in turn just increases the cost of making these products, which then goes back one full circle to make the product more expensive for you to purchase. So like if we just say no, everybody just receive like this fixed
salary that never increases.
and it never increases,
I'm
but
down.
everything else more cheaper. Like everything else is just, it will never go up in price one, right? And then we keep it there, right?
No, so that's possible in a
Settle.
closed economy. Let's say an economy of a tribe on an island, then that would be possible. But the problem is the introduction of new money. So two major ways that happens, right? The first one is that the governments print money, which in a lingo is quantitative easing, right? Where the government prints a lot of money, not because they are stupid, maybe, but not necessarily because they are irresponsible, but they are trying to prop up and inject funds into the economy. So that people spend more, then there are more receivers of money, right? And because of the influx of, like, let's say one seashell is 1 egg, and every day we got 300 eggs to sell to our island, right? If everybody suddenly just have more seashells, people are gonna start buying more eggs, making it impossible for the entire island to distribute egg. So they increase the price correspondingly with seashells in supply. Yeah. So that's one way things get more expensive. And the other way is because of how boundaries around the world are fading, right? Because of import and export. So Singapore is able to increase wages in a sustainable manner only if we continue selling goods and services outside of Singapore. If not, then it will be a bubble. Then it will be what you're saying. We are just inflating our lifestyle, then I pay you more, then I price things more, I pay you more, I price things more, then that to no end. But the thing is that then a country can never get richer in that sense also. So in order for a country to get richer, a country must sell goods and service to...
Why does a country need to get richer?
Because we buy goods and services from other countries as well. So it's more important for any other country, like for Singapore as compared to many other larger countries, that Singapore must be rich. Because in times of, like, say, egg crisis, right? If you, like, let's say COVID, because Singapore have the resources, then Singapore can bid for vaccines at stupid prices, and that's why third world countries didn't get access to it. It's not because Singapore's special, it's because Singapore could afford it.
It could potentially work in a country where they are super self-sufficient and they don't need trade or export to rely on goods and services lah. But that's not the case, because every country kind of specializes in something. Like if we talk about the war, even like Ukraine specializes in like certain goods also, which get affected because of like the crisis.
Yeah, but I do get what you mean by saying that it's a very so-called man-made concept in a sense, like that whole manipulation of like demand and supply, right? But I mean, there is a certain amount of inflation that is like globally accepted as like healthy inflation for a country because it helps to improve productivity for a country and the GDP and such lah. So that number is usually around 2%. So there is a healthy that is the healthy amount, but anything above that, right, is considered unhealthy because then your purchasing power becomes a lot less, and then that's when your standard of living can drop.
There's a negative correlation between unemployment and inflation. So usually if employment is going up, inflation also goes up together because more people are employed, more people have like...
Positive correlation then.
Sorry, negative correlation between unemployment and inflation. So if unemployment is going down, then inflation usually goes up because more people are employed, more people have more money. Right. Inflation goes up, so there's that healthy level which is good.
But it's a good point. I think about that last time.
Right.
Yeah.
I think where it's a little bit strange is that most of the time people talk about economically, right? Theoretically, demand and supply. But when you go to the store, your seller is actually the one deciding the price, and then you choose whether you want to buy or not.
Yeah. So there's another example, right, which frustrates me also. But Arizona iced tea. So
it's so specific.
No, because the brand has, for the longest time, right, tried to keep their product's price at 99 cents. It has never changed over like years, like decades.
Reason that Daiso?
That
Really?
full circle. Okay, no. but really never changed at all. So like the 99 cents, right, is the reason being that they just wanted to give a product that people can afford lor. So how they did that was that they look at their whole business model and then they take away the cost from other parts of the machine. So they do not do advertising. Instead, their cans are bigger and the printing and all that, right, is more flashy so that you see it. Then they cut costs when it comes to certain types of production, the materials that they use and all that. So they have been able to stick by that, you know? And then I think like, if a brand and a company can do this, and if all brands were to do this, then are the rest of them that are not doing it just bullshitting us?
But do you not think that this brand in a sense stands out because it has this pledge? But if everybody was doing it, right, how do we differentiate?
No one else stands out.
Yeah.
Then you go and drink the stuff that you like. The actual quality of the product is what you are purchasing already, not the
But then how does
branding
my
that you are
company
being
make money then?
told. When people like your product.
But monopoly can be good. That's what I believe.
If like I say, my
If
dictator
properly
also can be good.
managed.
Dictator is a good dictator.
Correct.
True.
Yeah.
But I think like based on what you say, for example, this one is a much smaller company. Like when I look at like what doesn't make sense to me is, for example, when petrol price increased so much because of the Ukraine war, right? So like I mean, Russia's a huge exporter of that, and I mean Ukraine themselves is like they produce like corn and all this other stuff also. So
Actually, they're one of the top 2 or top 3 like corn producers in the world, which was very surprising.
So, fun fact, actually why your price of eggs increasing due to the Ukraine-Russia war, right, is because...
Corn?
No, it's because they produce... let me read this part. Okay, so because they're the biggest producer of corn, so when less corn is produced, chicken feed that is made out of corn is actually the price increase also lah.
There you
So
go.
then therefore you need more money to rear chickens, and therefore egg prices increase.
That's
So,
why
wow.
I need to learn how to farm.
Yeah, so Putin invaded Ukraine,
And the world.
and that makes your char kway teow expensive. That's
Yeah.
That's how the world works.
But yeah, so back to Russia, right? On the oil prices, it's like the moment the war start, right? Straight away my petrol price increase, but that petrol haven't even reached. As in, like we
Yeah,
are
that's
not
what I
at
think about
the
it.
we're not at the supply crunch.
And then like it never like really go down. Right?
Like
It
there was
just, like,
definitely
go up.
a room where like someone who owns a petrol company go, okay guys.
Exactly, and they don't need to charge us that.
And it's because they are leveraging on the demand.
Yeah.
So I was actually looking at this interesting article by Money Smart, right, which talks about like what is the cost of living in Singapore in 2022.
Oh,
like,
okay.
is it really too much? Okay, so
Like
what
average,
is so they include, right, housing costs and transportation costs, daily expenses, and nice to haves, for example, like gym memberships or like when you go out for dates and all that kind of stuff.
You become the
So-
poster boy of gym membership. Yeah.
Do you want to guess,
good
right?
though. I'll take
Like if you cheapskate, right, you choose the lower end of all these options. What is the like average you will be expecting to spend in a month?
luxury
2000.
things
2000.
Like if you cheap,
Those
if you
things that she
cheapskate.
listed, yeah.
So housing, transport, and food.
2K.
1.5.
If you be cheap, like if you really save, like you take public transport.
I pay for my own house. I pay for my transport. I pay for my food. Then you say got the gym membership, all this.
No, that one's a
600.
luxury. That one's if you
House as
want.
in like rental or mortgage lah, essentially, right?
Yeah, right.
Monthly.
600.
1.2. Huh?
1.2.
I swear I didn't read it. I swear I didn't read it beforehand.
No, yours cause you attach, so you pay half.
No, because I was thinking of subsidized housing cost.
Right.
If you are on the lowest.
So 1.2k.
I was thinking of rental.
Yeah. So how this 1.2k was calculated is like for if you're renting a shared HDB flat, lower end is $700. Food, if you cook at home and you focus mainly on eating at hawker centers, you can spend 250. Transportation, if you buy the concession card, 130. And then mobile data, you choose the cheapest one, $20. Exercise.
130, like say for example, you were doing 200 on public transport. So if you just buy the 130 card, you would have just been
130 I can take bus and train.
Unlimited.
Why is that
Oh, that's
expensive?
great.
It's not expensive, what?
It's
Yeah.
not expensive at all.
Yeah. Where's your Oscars?
And then if you don't exercise at a gym or whatever, right, you go outdoors. And then recreation, you give like $100 budget so you can buy Netflix, watch movie, and have an occasional drink. That amounts to 1.2k.
Wow.
And I mean, recognizing that we are speaking from a position of privilege, right? But
Yeah.
within our own friend circles also who are about the same income levels, I would say, they are complaining about the same things. Like the
Yeah.
price of eggs, the price of petrol and all that. Do you think that Singaporeans are just complaining too much? I mean, of course, like not to be dismissive of
Straight away
people,
disclaim.
yeah, who are from lower income households, which I am privileged to not understand their struggle, but I know that they are struggling. But for the sake of the conversation, right, are Singaporeans just complaining too much?
But I think everyone will feel it at any income level because your lifestyle is at that level. So like if you suddenly
Lifestyle inflation.
yeah, and it's hard for you to, if you've been living for 2 years already on like what 7k 10k like income and you've been spending like what 7k a month to suddenly go back down, that feels, you also will feel it. I think it's fair for them to complain though. I don't know.
But I feel like if you want to complain, right, then you just adjust, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, okay.
No, especially people that complain that cars very expensive.
then they buy car.
Yeah.
No, I feel cause like there's who to blame, right? Like because this is something so out of control, COVID-19 out of our control, Ukraine war out of our control, right? Then I feel like someone when it's not in our control, we need to blame something.
I mean, like, firstly, I was like looking up like how badly are people actually suffering from this inflation. So like some stories that I've come across is that like there's a like sole breadwinner, family of 5 kids, and then so he has to like completely stop taking public transport and in fact have to cycle to his work. Like cycle to work instead, which I mean it's not very far lah, but it's still a distance. Yeah, and then or like some even have to like limit the amount of time that the children are taking to bathe in order to save on water bill. Or to turn off the aircon so that they save on electricity bill. So like yeah, then I'm just wondering like from my position, right, like I can be complaining, but then for them, right, like what can they be doing? Yeah, so I think like now is a good time also to bring out like our partners for today's episode, which is the Ministry of Communications and Information. So they've given me some information on why prices are up and what our government is doing in response, which I think is important for people to know. Like, I mean, I don't think they're tooting their own horn. They're telling you there is help, go and get it. Yeah, so here are some of them. So specifically for lower income households that are more impacted, right, the government has been giving them more targeted help. So for the ComCare short to medium term assistance, you can actually, if you are a new client currently applying between April 2022 to September 2022, you get at least 6 months of support, including assistance with your household bills, medical assistance at public healthcare institutions, and employment assistance. Yeah, so I think if you do fall under this, there is no shame in going to get help firstly. And I think for the rest of us also, like, let's also be, extending grace towards these people lah. Yeah. And yeah, there are also public transport vouchers that are being given out, and the COVID-19 recovery grant will continue until December 2022 to help lower and middle income households.
No, so I went to Google this, and actually I texted a friend that works in MCI. So I thought he's gonna give me like a couple of numbers to call, but it was very extensive. Sorry, the Brandon message stopped already. This was my own research. Is that there are a lot of places you can go to, and this man was asking me specifically which church do I go to, because he asked my religion for whatever reasons, right? Or he wanted to thank me, then he wanted to say like God bless you or whatnot lah. So he wanted to figure out which the right God to call, right? And then so he said, does your church give out free food? But like my church in Punggol, which is so far for him, right? Yeah, and there were so many places you can call. The key one is actually the Social Service Office of Singapore. So if you all don't know, like, this is it lah. There are many places that can help you bounce back in life, whether or not you are trying to look for a job, cannot find a job, you cannot work because of disability, you cannot work because you need to take care of a family member. All those like qualify for like ComCare, that kind of stuff. And there are so many that you can call one general line, which is the Social Service Office of Singapore.
They actually also have physical officers, so you can go down and visit if you feel more like at peace, like and reassured talking to people in real life.
Yeah, so once again, I think it's very important to know. Like, especially if I think many times we need help, we don't know where to go to, or we know of people that need help, they don't know where to go to. I think the government is doing all they can to try and reach and find those people, and distribute fairly and equitably lah, because it's taxpayer money also.
And there's really no shame in getting help lah. Like, I think some people are like worried about that, and like especially telling their family and all that.
Yeah. Everybody need help sometime.
Surprise! It is actually, let's talk about some good inflation, and that's inflation of our like, shares, and subscribe.
In a good way, in a healthy way.
In a healthy inflation way. And so if you haven't done it, do it. Thank you. 1, 2, 3.
It will really inflate our happiness.
Back to the episode. But yeah, so something else that we are also looking at is that this is a global inflation, right? Like, there's a global supply chain disruption, due to the issues that we mentioned previously, right? So I was just like thinking about like what are other countries doing to fight this inflation. So for those of you who don't know, I think Singapore favors the contractionary monetary policy, which is basically controlling the money supply that is in circulation, and also by increasing interest rates. Okay. So, which, like what I'm sharing, because what I found is like quite interesting.
Like,
so what people do, what overseas people do is, the very bad choice is by printing more money, because that will come back to bite you in the ass. Yeah, but alternatively, they do like wage and price controls, which actually, in fact, our government had also done during the COVID period, which is like the price control to limit price freezers, so that you don't change the price of goods, like
essential goods especially stay at that same price.
If I'm not wrong, like I think like FairPrice has like 100 that they list down that they will not change.
Those items
essential items. But then at the same time, like, this is also dangerous, because when I do wage and price controls, right, it can cause recession and it can cause job loss. So then it's always a very like pro and con situation,
because someone needs to bear the cost eventually. There's a gap that's being unpaid for.
Exactly. And now we can see like in the US, where they had been printing money for a bit of time, and now they are taking that big step back to like contract, right? And then you can see like the stock market getting hit, and then like their cost of living is rising like crazy also.
So inflation is directly related to the strength of your currency also, right?
For sure.
Like, if say my currency got stronger,
things will be cheaper if you buy from overseas.
So then
inflation is directly related to purchasing power.
Inflation
on goods that you are importing lah. Yeah, it depends, because say for example you only import one type of good from one country, and then all the other goods from all the other countries. If your currency is normal to the rest of the others, but then suddenly stronger than the other, then that one good is like.
So then will my cost of living not increase or decrease if the currency of our, like say Singapore dollar gets stronger?
Yeah. Relatively, it should be cheaper lah.
It's not directly related, because like he said, right, it's like your government's dealing in general, but then that trickles down. You know what I mean? So for example, right, like if
I don't understand the question.
There's a lot of other factors also.
No, because like the strength of your currency is in comparison to all the other countries, ma.
Yep.
So then, if the strength of your currency gets better, right? Then I'm trying to understand if does inflation still occur at the same rates as other countries?
I don't think
or-
it's as correlated as you think. Because internally everything is still the same. Because what is in correspondence to other countries' currency, ma.
But then it's not internal because I'm buying everything's imported, ma.
Yeah.
So then wouldn't we be earning? Or
I think it's
It
indirect
also
because it depends on how much of the cost the people are passing down to consumers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I can import something, right? And then I actually didn't spend extra money because of the strength of my currency. But then when I pass it down, I can, as in my price of goods can still increase.
The brand or the company might actually take that as profits for
Yeah,
themselves
correct.
because it's cheaper for them to import also.
Yeah.
right?
So it really depends on.
But there's trade-offs. So like for Singapore, we import more than we export. So we want to have strong currency so we can buy more cheaper relatively to the rest. But for China, for example, they are trying to keep their currency cheap because they are a net export company. Yeah. So if the value of yuan goes up, it means generally the price of Chinese
Yeah.
Goods are
stuff
more
just becomes very expensive. Yeah.
But there's also been like crazy examples, like a few years back, like Venezuela is like a crazy one where like their currency decreased to the point where nobody even wants it, right? And then the higher officials who are corrupt are actually dealing in USD. So their dollar itself like became worthless lah.
Or it's like hyperinflation in like after World War II, like in like East Berlin versus West Berlin, where like I think literally the price of bread was decreasing like every minute. Oh no, the price of bread was increasing every minute. Then you straight away you get your paycheck already, you have to go and buy something already.
Yeah, so like I think you mentioned this earlier, but like in this circumstance, right? How especially when it boils down to essentials for survival, like the food is in front of you, but you cannot buy it because it's one loaf of bread is $1,000, right? Why do they continue to follow the system that exists?
What's the alternative? You just insist on paying less for it and then taking it?
Or at that point where the currency is so crazy, already, right? Then we don't follow this system of currency because it's not working for us. We change it to something else. Like it might even end up being
But
like a
it's
barter
working
trade.
for us. It's just not working.
No, I'm talking
for
about those
that
extreme
1%, ma.
situations lah.
Right.
Like when war happens and then it rabak until like that, right? Then why would they still stick to the currency?
I see what you're saying. I think like it's very hard because if for example you say that no matter what, if we're experiencing inflation but bread is $1, but then now my dollar is also decreasing in value, so then do we pay wages the same amount because you can still buy bread the same amount, or do we increase wages and then suddenly now I can buy 10 million breads because it's $1?
Therefore,
Then,
it spirals, which is why one of the measures is to control wages.
yeah.
Right.
And also that essential basket of goods in some sense. But if you look at like other countries also, I follow a lot of like UK celebrities because I enjoy football, right, and the English football in particular, and all of them started complaining about Boris Johnson because I think just last night or like at the time of filming, right, people were complaining about cost of living and his solution was work harder, and he was like, what the, everyone was just like
But is it a bigger shock to them because they have such a like safety net system like in place, like with the European countries?
They
and all
have
that,
their
right?
welfare system, right?
Yeah, lor, it's
Yeah,
like you can
yeah.
don't work, you can be earning a shit ton of money. I
which
mean,
brings back
making
to
a shit ton of money.
which brings back to the very famous Taman quote where like someone asked him, do you believe in the notion of the safety net? And he was like, we as in Singapore prefer the notion of the trampoline. We want people to bounce back up, which is why like
Was that not Lee Hsien Loong? That was Taman.
that was Taman. So like for example, there are initiatives such as ComCare, for example, where it's not about giving out handouts, but it's about getting you back on your feet so that hopefully within 5 months or 6 months you get to go back into the workforce as opposed to people relying on like unemployment benefits.
Yeah, lah, teach a man
So-
to fish lah.
Exactly.
I mean, I do think that like the government is quite keenly aware of like the concerns that Singaporeans have with regards to cost of living, right? So in the immediate term also, governments are helping people cope with like the household package, which is household support package. Yeah, and then there's also the CDC vouchers that they are giving out, $100 worth in like May. Yeah, which you have now received. I mean, now can redeem.
Just to be a bit meta, right?
Yeah.
Like again, it's not like the government told us to like say, hey, this is what they're doing. By the way, it's like they're just saying, look, it's a concern of people. I think there are several things that are happening and then they're not aware of it. Can you please share that these are certain channels, right? But I think the fact that they actually came to us to share about it means that they really have a pulse on the ground that this is something that people are worried about also.
Right.
It's weird because I think many people want more for those that have less. But don't want to contribute or less likely to contribute to these things, right? And yet the government is in a very unique position in there, especially in Singapore, because we got cash reserves, ma. Do we help those that are unable to help themselves, and to what extent? Let's say people pushing for a welfare state, want unemployment checks, for example. Got the money again? Have. If we work election to election, no, like US like that, they plan only 4 years ahead, ma, because nobody knows really, ma. Then continue to do that. Also, every term they run up insane debt, and then next term that guy spent $1 trillion to make his 4 years so amazing, right? I also need to at least spend 1 trillion. If not, how can my term be the one where we tighten the belt?
Yeah.
So I will borrow 1.2 trillion, no. Just like give more perks to my people, ma. Under my leadership, we have great perks, ma.
Yeah.
And this goes on and this goes on until to the point whereby, to be honest, they cannot stop spending on their military now. Because if somebody says we need to reclaim the debt, right, they need to take out warship already, because don't have money to take out.
Yeah.
They have to continue building this strength, and I think for a country like Singapore, it's possible that we continue, like, okay, like welfare we give, but this money comes from where, right? It comes from the taxpayers, and then it's like, okay, then we can tighten our belt of the taxpayers. However, as the government also, they cannot bargain with us. It's an impossible situation, and I think
it's not only that. So, like, for example, if we were a welfare state and we were paying out like unemployment benefits, for example, right, then our very low income tax already will need to go up, and then now a new set of people are now complaining, why am I paying for someone's unemployment benefit through my income tax? And then it's a whole different like cycle altogether. So
yeah, so I mean, if I can just like list down a few of the other avenues of help that I've gotten. So families will also be provided with additional support for their children's education system. There's $200 top-ups into their CDA, EduSave, and post-secondary education accounts.
Okay.
And then their support for household will also be continuous. For example, MediSave top-ups for like seniors and children's and families. Eligible household will also receive SNCC and WSave rebates every quarter this year.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, there are quite a few things that they are doing to kind of, I guess, cushion the impact and also help you have time to like regroup and like gather up that your own like finance. So like, I mean, in general, right, do you all think Singapore is getting too expensive to live in?
Well, I feel like I say no, then I sound damn
After the Luna thing a bit.
Tightening the belt.
I also found out that, you know, Boon Keng got one particular Cai Fan store, right, that I think I came back on a weekend, the queue long, right?
Oh, I know which one.
It's because they give discount to the residents here.
No, there's one subsidized
50% or
subsidized by NTUC. You pay like $1 or $1.80 or something
for the
like
economic, like whatever,
like a preset meal.
I didn't know, Then the queue like not bad.
Yeah, and good, eh. I mean, I never take discount. Sorry, I pay full price, but it's not bad, eh. Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you say that?
He buy 20 packet. That's why I got queue.
It's not a crew meal. No, I think you need to flash them some NTUC card or something.
I mean, I do think it is getting quite expensive, and it's no secret that Singapore is considered one of the most expensive cities in the world to live in, right? But at the same time, I think when we compare all the other things that are available here that contributes to this cost of living, I think it kind of evens out. It's a trade-off, definitely.
It's a trade-off.
It also depends on how you're measuring that, because I think a lot of like the economists, for example, I can't remember what they call their index, right? But they're actually calculating how much premium they should pay for someone if they have to move to a country that is like less well off. So for example, if you like right now get transferred to like Middle East or like another part of Southeast Asia, they will have to pay you compensation for like whatever for having to move you there. So if they have to move an expat to Singapore, how much that compensation is actually very low because Singapore is a great city. Right. So that's how they measure like the cost of living in that sense. Like it's usually at that level already. It's not really at usual Singapore level.
Like in Singapore, it's damn doable to survive. Yeah. But also because we have access to so many options, we don't want to just survive. But
yeah,
it's in a place whereby if you're hungry, you can eat one. If you got no place to stay, you can find a place to stay one. But that's the trade-off.
It's really there, right? Because we always hear about like billionaires are buying over GCBs, and we're like, wow, how come it's like that? But it's always the
That'd be
comparison.
salty, right?
Yeah, but you are completely
Yeah,
fine, right?
I think if you're an able-bodied normal person with this like reasonable access to opportunities that everybody else has, right, you should shut the f- up about cost of living. Go and earn your money and go and serve. Go and do what you need to do.
Yeah.
But I think it's extremely important when people are like handicapped, for example, or they are just basically their circumstances don't allow them.
Yeah.
They put them at a disadvantage, or they don't have the ability to. That's when I think that the government can like step up or step in and help a bit lah. And I think have maybe can be better, but have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is something that I think
Can be better
look more
also
into.
subjective.
Yeah lor.
Definitely can be better. Put more money on, can who pay?
Just as a
Taxpayer
tidbit,
pay.
right? They want to guess like as of 2021, right? What is our median household income?
3,200.
Median means middle.
Oh yeah, it's not mean.
It's not mean.
I think it's higher. I think it could be
4.
yeah.
Household.
For 4.
Hold on to your
2,800.
Hold on to your seats,
Wait.
everybody.
What?
Wait for what?
6.
9.5.
Oh.
Yeah, but then
Median household
this
income.
one you
Oh, yeah,
capital
household,
lim or what
household.
lah, that kind.
I mean, because we have that big amount of like millionaires. But
Yeah.
yeah, anyway. But
No, but that's what
No,
median
yeah.
takes
Yeah lah,
away
yeah lah.
from.
Because it
Yeah.
goes into the middle.
So it doesn't count those super
It doesn't
extreme cases.
factor the outliers that much.
9.
9.5.
Okay lah, you think about it. If median salary is 4, then husband and wife.
Oh, is everybody
In the household.
add together? Oh, shit. I
Yeah.
thought it's everybody divide.
That's
Oh,
per
no
capita.
lah.
sorry,
Then
sorry.
you all pass away lah.
Mathematics.
But so actually, I also came across this other like interesting study, right? This not sponsored.
Nobody paid that much in this company.
Not even the boss. But yeah, so the median household of income of families who sought help from charities, right? It actually fell. So it was actually 1.6K before the COVID-19 pandemic. This household income are not per capita, and it fell to 500.
Wow.
Right.
So it is rough lah. Yeah. So I think like something that we want to remind people of is also like to keep a lookout for each other, and because there are people that are still turning to charities for help, right? You can also donate if you have the means to and want to contribute. Yeah, other than that, I think like just now we mentioned the social service office. You can visit or you can contact them online, and there's a ComCare hotline which is 1800-222-0000. Yes.
No lah, it'll probably be in the description lah. Don't mislead people lah. It's in the description box.
Imagine I'm doing this and nothing shows up. It's
Yeah,
like-
no, 100% nothing shows up. I guarantee you, there's nothing there, right?
We are upgraded now.
No.
We got subtitles now.
No.
Yeah.
Editor's going to screw me over.
Okay, so yeah, thanks for watching this episode. I hope you've grown more educated. And if you have any comments or if you need help, I think we will put links in the description down below also. And like, share, subscribe. Come back for our next episodes. Bye bye.
you. The other day also I got one letter, like you talk about the education support, right? I got one letter, right? Then they tell me that I don't know how, but the government give me like some free like money to use for
For the
educational
education.
purposes. Then I never use, right?
Because they will do an NOIQ check on you. Oh, right.